Welcome to Let's Talk. Here we will focus on the hustle, the juggle, and everyday struggle of small business. About their everyday struggles, stresses, and ways they have been able to overcome the challenges of running their business. We welcome questions and comments, so please feel free to email us at admin@PlemonsCPA.com. We hope you enjoy, and above all, we hope it helps. Welcome to the Hustle, Juggle, and Struggle of Small Business. I am your hostess, Thalia Williams. We are proudly sponsored by Pontum Financial, connecting your financial dots. Today in the studio, we have David B Plemons and Rita McDaniel of David B Plemons CPA. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you, Talia. Glad to be here.
No doubt. So tell me some things that have been happening with the firm. I've heard some exciting stuff's been going on.
We've had a lot of changes coming up. We've totally redesigned how we're doing things. We were all in the office, and I think like a lot of places, we decided to go home. Let's just go home, keep our employees safe as possible, and nobody wants to go back. We're still working at home. It has worked out absolutely wonderful because of the technology. We've been working towards it anyway, as far as building things to make it a perk to allow people to work at home on occasion. We didn't realize we were setting up for the COVID period, but it has worked out well. Everything we've gotten off our internal server, everything we do is online, so we can go sit in Starbucks if we want or wherever, as long as we can get to the internet, we're good to go.
Undoubtedly. Well, being part of this team, that is a perk. I mean, going to office meetings in their pajamas, even though you look appropriate on top, the bottoms, leave a lot to the imagination. But I'm glad to know that you've been able to pivot and change with the times, because I know a lot of small businesses weren't able to do that. How has that impacted the morale of the team?
Well, I think it was a little slow going to begin with, just learning how to still create a team environment with everybody so spread out apart, so being more proactive in our communication, utilizing the technology that we migrated to be able to continue to communicate effectively, and help and encourage our staff the way that they need to be. So I think it was a kind of a learning curve. It took us a little bit to get started, but now that we're everybody's kind of getting comfortable with it, utilizing text messages and chat and different things like that to be able to assist and support the way that we used to when we were all together in the office. So,
and that's critical too, I would think, for small businesses who have had to pivot to that remote learning, remote work, and things like that, keeping that camaraderie. And the challenge has always been, out of sight, out of mind. But using the technology tools, I think our team has been able to stay somewhat connected.
The challenge was not really the technology of doing the work. It was the what you guys are calling the camaraderie. Used to could go in the next office and say, "Hey, Susie, can you get me this? Can you do that?" Now Susie's connected remotely, so we've worked and developed the tools. Instead of physically walking in somebody's office, we can virtually walk in their office with some of the tools that we have.
Well, that's good. That's real good. And I noticed that the team had to adapt. There was that learning curve. But for most small businesses, that learning curve sometimes is still going on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we've been helping a lot of our clients suffer through that kind of transition, So it's been interesting and educational at the same time.
Undoubtedly. And some businesses weren't necessarily as prepared as others for the technology change. That becomes the difficulty in pivoting as quickly as we were and other small businesses were able to. How have you found your clients been able to adapt? I mean, it's been 2 years now.
Yeah, I feel, from my perspective, I feel like they're finding their way in the new way of business, like the new way business works. So I feel like people are struggling still a little bit, but that's kind of one of the reasons why we decided to kind of change some of the focus of what we're doing inside the business and developing what we're calling the HGS Academy, which is more coaching, business coaching and things like that are focusing more on the soft skills of business than the actual services and products that they provide, just because the new way of business is is actually more dependent now on the soft skills, you know, management, communication, you know, how do you keep employees? How do you get employees? Because that's a huge challenge right now in the workforce. So it's, you know, changing our mindset of what we're offering and what we're educating, you know, our client and our client base. Okay, now we need to not just help them with their finances, but also help them pivot the way that they think, their mindset, change how they're interacting with their employees, how they're getting their employees, how they're communicating, those kind of aspects.
And that's different for a CPA firm. David, what do you think about that? How do you feel about it?
I am very pumped. I think it's the way to go. We've historically, when you think about accountants, you think about, okay, well, how did I do last year? What was my last year's stuff? You're thinking in the past. So by the time you figure out what your tax return or your profit and loss says, you're already 4 or 5 months into the future beyond that. So it's hard to really, as a small business, manage your company if you're seeing stuff from the past. So we're through this hustle, juggle, struggle. I'm getting it right.
Yes, you are. Academy.
We're focusing more on the future. Yes, we're still going to take care of the back end, but we want to help with the tax planning, with the business coaching, being more proactive. We had lunch today with some people. We were talking about helping them to use their accounting system, QuickBooks, which is more current, and it helps them to see the future by using some of the features that, you know, a year or 2 years ago, we wouldn't have even thought about.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, the tools have always been there. It's just now they're actually being put into use and application. And for some businesses who only may have used one component of, we'll just say QuickBooks, now they're like, oh, they had all of this. I can use that for this. And because they've had to pivot, they've had to use an accounting system now that was able to adapt and pivot with them. But if they didn't know it existed or how to use it, but now that they have the opportunity to use it, that's where another coaching skill set comes in.
And it goes beyond just, you know, using the numbers to benefit them and stuff like that. So we're using our partners as well in our little circle, you know, of what we have to help them expand in different ways, to offer benefits, different types of benefits, to attract the right kind of employees that they want, you know. So because you have to think about the employee future as well as their future and what they want to offer to support that. So bringing in other individuals that are, you know, have their expertise in different fields is kind of the focus of what the HGS Academy is going to be. It's not just going to be accounting or coming just from a CPA perspective. It's going to come from multiple different perspectives from different individuals that have, you know, the expertise in their field, that they can provide a different perspective, which I think is the key to all small business owners these days, is to have the right perspective and mindset.
It's the we got a guy concept.
Yeah.
Explain that to me, David.
Well, it's, you know, you're sitting down working with somebody and they decide, oh, we need to be an LLC. We need to change our corporate structure. We got a guy. You know, if you got an attorney you'd like to use, great. We recommend using an attorney to do this. If you don't have one, we got a guy. We got an attorney. We can refer to you. We work with this attorney all the time. We do it with financial planners, with insurance people, with bankers. We got a guy.
Right. That's that professional support, that trusted advisory mantra and the mission statement that we have for the firm. Also, I noticed that we have a new location.
We do.
We have been, as part of our heart, I guess is the lack of a better way, for years and years we've been wanting to educate. The Hustle, Juggle, Struggle is all about education, teaching, helping business owners be proactive, understand what they're doing. And we've been going to town of Victoria, Texas, which is a little over 100 miles from here, for 8 to 10 years, planting seeds. Think about we're the little farmer just throwing seeds on the side of the road. Some of them take, some of them don't. And we've been planting seeds down there, and a lot of those seeds happen to be coming to fruition right now. There's a guy who wanted to retire from his practice, contacted the people because he knew people that we knew. We got a guy, okay? And this thing just worked out. So we now have an office in Victoria.
So if you're listening, we do have an office in Victoria, that is the David B Plemons CPA firm. So now we're growing. We're actually doing what we've been helping our clients to do.
Yes, yeah.
We're growing.
Yeah. And we're one of the plans that we had prior to COVID was to expand into Victoria. So we'd already kind of been looking in that area to begin with for a long time. And we thought because of how COVID made us pivot our business and we were going to, more online, we weren't going to have a need for actual locations and things. But we have found that to be different in Victoria. So different demographic, different, locations, different places, So some things are going to stay the same and some things have changed, but it's nice to see that the brick and mortar, the face-to-face meetings and stuff like that is still going to come back around because that was one of the things I was really missing.
Oh, undoubtedly. I think most of the world was missing those face-to-face communications.
We're having people contact us and say, we're glad you're finally here. We've been waiting on you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're finding out a lot of what we're talking about, the coaching, the consulting. There's nobody else down there doing that. Or at least not at the same position that we are. We really don't see any competition in it, and people are just lining up almost.
Wow, that's wonderful. I like the fact that we now have those 2 locations. Mm-hmm. We also have the ability to impact more people.
Absolutely.
It's like these are the various channels and methods in which we do it, but nothing beats face-to-face.
No.
Nothing beats face-to-face. So with that, and we're going to digress just a little bit into the HJS, the Hustle, Juggle, and Struggle Academy. Its main purpose is to do what, Rita?
To educate and to have business owners come in to the program and then leave the program with a better perspective and a better handle and more base knowledge to take their business to the next level. Mm-hmm. So that's the main purpose. So initially we're going to have, an online library and things that people can access, videos, information, blogs and different things like the QuickBooks Corner blog that we have out there right now will transition into the HGS Academy. And then we'll, have that available for individuals, but it's also going to those individuals that need that face-to-face and that one-on-one interaction and things like that. They'll have the opportunity to be placed with a coach that will work with them on their specific issues, on their business. They have homework on their business, and a lot of peer-to-peer learning, which we have found to be the best scenario for a lot of business owners that are trying to grow into the next level, is to talk to somebody else that's in the same situation and hear what they're going through.
Their pain points.
Right, and how they can fix it. And, that's a great idea. Maybe I should do that kind of thing.
And also helps them not feel so alone.
Yes.
Because most small business owners feel like they're the only ones going through what they're going through. No matter what industry they're in, they think they're the only ones. And the peer-to-peer is going to assist them to realize, no, this is universal. I may not have experienced it right now, but I did experience it. Or, I need to be prepared for that because it's coming. That's coming. So I believe this opportunity for them to grow their business and, like you say, the soft skills is really going to be beneficial to them and then propel them to their next level.
Right.
So, David, your thoughts about the HGS Academy and its impact with the legacy that you want to leave.
Okay, you talk about a legacy. I got pinned down one day. And this
nailed down or pinned down?
Well, nailed down. And the question that I was asked was, when you're 90, hopefully I'm sitting on my front porch contemplating my life, what do you want to have achieved? And I've been asked the same question for years, and it's hard to answer, but the nuts and bolts of it is I want to help people. It's as simple as that, and the whole concept of this is to help people. I feel like we were put here on this earth to help each other. Mm-hmm. We're not out here everybody on their own, at least in my opinion. I think we're here to support and help and teach and learn from each other, and this is just an opportunity for us to give back to anybody and everybody that wants to learn. One thing we do ask is if you participate in what we do, that you want to learn.
Right. Right. And that's key because you can't, a closed hand can't receive or give anything.
That's correct.
So you have to be willing to learn, willing to accept what you've been given, and apply it. Because it's usually half the problem. People get the information, full of information. It's the application aspect of it. And we both know, all of us know, that change is difficult. Change is very hard. And for those who want to grow their business, they have to change. I mean, how many times have you encountered a small business owner that you know they need help? They need that administrative assistant or that bookkeeper, but they just refuse to let it go. I can't do it. I don't have enough income, or I don't have this, I don't have that. How do we overcome those fears?
Partly faith, partly other people, and this is your peer-to-peer. If you come into talking with people that are your peers and they said, you know what, I was in the same situation. I'll give you an example. When I first started the firm, I worked out of my house. Obviously, we all work out of the house when we first start. And it's like, why don't you get an office? I said, I can't afford it. Can't afford to get an office. And everybody, my peers were going, you know what? You get an office. It's like the field of dreams. You build it, it will come. Okay? Got an office, and my business doubled. Wow. I mean, paying the office rent was nothing compared to the increase in business. And, you know, it was, and I figured out also it's you're legitimate. If you're working out of your house, how do we know that tomorrow you won't just get tired of this and go away? At least if you get an office, you've signed a lease, you've got some sort of commitment to do this. So it's faith, and it's your peer-to-peer stuff, and belief is going to happen.
Undoubtedly. And I think the Academy is going to give some people more foundation or provide clarity, because some folks don't know where they want to go. They're just making the donuts. Oh, it's tax time. Okay, I got to make some more donuts. No, I don't have to make as many donuts this time. But, you know, it's going to help provide them some clarity and maybe help them reestablish why they started their business.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of that is too, you're making the donuts, you forget the why. You forget why you started what you did. You forget why you were so passionate to take that risk to begin with, to jump out on your own. So I think a lot of what it's also going to provide, in addition to the support that you get from the peer-to-peer learning and the coaches that are involved, is going to be the encouragement. I think a lot of that is a solitary fight, I guess you could say, as an entrepreneur. You feel like you're alone, like you were saying before. But in this environment with the HJS, it'll give you that encouragement that, hey, you're not alone. There's all of these other individuals that are in different industries, but they're still going through the same struggle. You know, we're all in the same hustle, like, you know, so just to kind of bring it back around and just say, you got this, you know, kind of thing, and have a group of people that are going to be there to support you and say, you got this. You know, there is a community out there, you know, and we all should support each other.
Undoubtedly.
And part of that is, if you're part of the program and one of your needs, let's just say, is financial, we have people that are pre-committed to work with the program. For example, maybe you need a loan. We got bankers that want to be a part of the program, and they're predisposed to want to loan money to, you know, people doing the right thing. So
right. They're going to still do their due diligence.
Correct.
But you will now have an avenue to someone direct versus just a teller you've been making deposits with for the past 10 years.
Right.
Because you're supposed to have a relationship with the banker. You're supposed to. That's a part of the Power 5, and you'll learn more about that in the HGS Academy. Right. The thing becomes understanding what your real needs are. Because sometimes people don't know what they need. Yeah. They just know, okay, I'm in chaos. I just need to, you know, do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. But that may not be the real deal.
Right. Well, I mean, the HJS goes beyond, because we always talk about the Power 5, and we always talk about the need to have those people that surround you to support you and all that other stuff. HGS Academy actually puts that into effect. So it introduces you to all of those individuals. It introduces you to how to use those individuals, and you get the one-on-one attention. You get to know what they need from you too, so that you can learn, you know, how to branch out and utilize and create other relationships in those different industries, you know. So, because diversity is key, you want to make sure you diversify. Everybody needs that first stepping stone to teach them how to do it and get comfortable with it.
True enough. And I know a lot of times that we have individuals who've been making the donuts, and they're positioned to do something else along with making the donuts. Put icing on the donuts.
Right.
Fill the donuts with jelly, you know.
I thought the donuts were coming with the icing.
Right. No, not all of them. But, you know, they have the ability to branch out because part of their dream was this was maybe the first phase. And now we're going to the second phase. But the second phase never came, and they've been in this 10 years. They're like, how can I get to that second phase?
Right. Yeah.
So, Chris, tell us about the Power Five. What is it?
Well, I know you know what the Power Five is because you actually coined the term, so I really appreciate that. But the Power Five is the 5 most important professionals that any business owner can have. There's some variation on the last one, but most of the time it's going to be your CPA, your financial planner, your banker, your insurance agent, and your attorney. Having those different individuals collaborate with one another preferably, or at least making sure that they're all on the same page with you is going to be extremely important. We found out how important it was during COVID, but it's going to be just as important, if not more important, moving forward.
So, Chris, how can we get a hold of you for more information?
Well, our main office is in San Antonio off of 281 in Bitters. We also have a website, pontemfinancial.com, PONTEM financial.com. And we're also on LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course, we have a phone, 210-625-4845, to reach out to a member of my team or myself.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris Hall is a financial advisor and partner with Pontem Financial in San Antonio, Texas. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA/SIPC.
So what else is going on, David? What's up with the tax view right now for 2022? 2021? We're in 2022.
There's still a couple of items in 2021. We're not sure. They might change. They might not. This kind of happened last year. But for the most part, we're pretty set for 2021. 2022 is a new ball game. Mm-hmm. The Build Back Better bill did not pass. It had a bunch of tax changes that we'd actually done some workshops, and here's what they're proposing. All of that's out the door, and we're back to scratch sheets, far as I can tell right now.
Okay, right now. Because I know
tomorrow may be different.
Oh, of course, because we're in America, and things change on a dime. But, a lot of people are concerned about the child tax credit, the last stimulus, quote-unquote, payment they received, that third one. So there's so much going on right now that people are literally confused. Do you have some resources maybe that they could get some information from?
Well, let's talk about the advanced child tax credit, because that is confusing everybody that we've talked to. Mm-hmm. Historically, when you file a tax return, you get a credit for your children. The amount differs, over time, but you get a credit on your tax return, so therefore you get a certain amount of refund, and people are used to that process. This year, the government's decided that, we're just going to pay you that child tax credit. Let's say it's $2,000. They're going to pay you so much per month, pay you now, instead of getting it on your tax return. All of a sudden, these people get a letter from the IRS that says, here's how much you paid in this tax credit. And they're going, I don't know what this is. They bring it in to us and say, I got this letter. I don't know what it means. Then when we file it, we get their tax return prepared. They're going, I usually get money back. What happened? Why don't I get money back? They're confused about how all this works, and they are not happy. I have yet to find one person who's happy because they spent the money as they went along. They didn't notice it. All of a sudden, they're depending on this tax refund because that's how they fund this or fund that every year. They buy a new refrigerator or whatever it might be, and that money's not coming this year.
Because it was given out.
Because they got it early. Because they're 80%, I'm making up this percent, a large percent, so I didn't get any money. But here comes a letter from the IRS that said they did. When you pin them down, make them go look at their bank statement. Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess I did get it. Mm-hmm. People are not happy with that.
Undoubtedly. And like you said, they're used to it being one lump sum at the end of the tax season where they planned, okay, refrigerator, car, repair, whatever, vacation. Hello, I'm there. But now they don't have that option anymore, and they're scrambling because they budgeted or they pre-plan for what they thought they were going to get
Right.
based on what they have gotten previously.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if it's planning at that point. It's more of an assumption, or an expectation, because so many years they didn't get it as an advance. They got it with their tax, so they just expect that that's going to be their refund. Because the average Joe out there isn't paying attention to how tax law is, or how the forms are actually filled out, or what this means or what that means. So they're just going along thinking things are going to be, the status quo, right? But surprisingly, it's not. And then so things change, things pivot, and people have problems with change. So
Very difficult, and especially if they weren't paying attention other than what the government was giving them. They didn't really recognize how it was going to impact.
Because they got like 3 or 4 stimulus checks prior to this that were all tax-free, basically. And so
they thought this was another one of those.
They didn't know this was child tax versus stimulus versus groceries. They didn't. It's just money showing up. I want to take it.
Right, exactly. So now, what did they say? The piper has to be paid.
Yes.
The piper has to be paid. And now, instead of you getting your $4,000 refund, you may only be getting $200, if that, depending on, your tax status at the time. So it is a big change. And maybe fortunately, that buy better, build better, buy whatever it is, bill didn't pass. I'm not an accountant, guys. I'm marketing. What can I tell you? But it didn't pass. So that could be advantageous to some extent. But then you also look at it, how many accountants, CPA firms, large companies are having now to deal with, okay, this is another set of questions that we didn't anticipate, and we have to explain it. We have to understand it enough to be able to explain it. And most small business owners are basically single parent homes, some of them, married couples that got a side hustle, or either this is their livelihood and they got kids that they weren't thinking, oh, well, this extra $300, dude, you need some gym shoes? Well, we can wait till April. Back to school clothes, we can put some money aside for April, from April and things like that for August. Now it's like, Junior, you might not get no new gym shoes this year.
Yeah. That's possible, but I think that's where, because that bill didn't pass, but there's going to be another one and there's going to be another one. So there's always going to be changes that are happening. So staying aware and staying present with all of that is more important now, which is why we're getting more aggressive on our tax planning and trying to build strategies for the future for our business owners so that they can make some decisions and have a plan and change their expectation, I guess, with all the constant changes that happen through the tax law.
I like that. And then in our last few minutes or so, talk a little bit about tax planning. What are the advantages and benefits of it? Rita alluded to some of it, but give us some detail, David.
Well, a lot of it is we work with the business and try to figure out where you're going. One of the first questions we ask if a new business comes in is, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are your aspirations? What would you like to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What's your exit strategy? And everybody looks at you, not everybody, but the vast majority, and you go, well, I don't know what you're talking about. How are you going to get out of this? Are you going to sell it and become a millionaire someday? Or are you going to work in it till the day you die? You're going to leave it to your kids? What are you going to do? All of those involve strategies. So there's tax planning strategies, which, okay, next year they're going to make it, we can save you $10,000 next year if you do this, if you do that. They're always forward-looking. But a tax strategy is how much tax dollars I can tell you. They're wealth strategies or wealth building strategies, which we bring in some financial consultants sometimes. If someday you want to build this thing up and make it worth a lot and sell it within the next 20 years, then we might bring in somebody to help do the planning because you need a 10-year path. By a year from now, you need to have this done. By a year after that, it needs to be this done. We're spending a lot more time looking to the future historically than we have in the past. We've more looked to the past.
Right. Well, that's excellent because if you're looking to leave a legacy, if you're looking to sell, or if you're looking to do anything with your business other than walk away from it, tax planning and tax strategies are essential. Essential. So with our last minute, give us a summation of HJS, the New Victoria office, and tax planning strategies.
We are here for you to help you in the future, and we got a guy.
We got a guy, guys. We got a guy. HGS Academy will probably be kicking off in 2023.
2023, yes.
Yes.
But we're going to look to kind of jump that, kind of get into it with the QuickBooks Corner. So we're kind of taking the coaching and everything we've been doing with the QuickBooks and kind of turning that into more videos available, how-to instructions and things like that to kind of start giving resources out to the business owners, that need it. So
excellent. Well, I would suggest anybody who's listening, who's interested in HGS Academy, start looking at our website, www.plemonscpa.com, as a starting point. We have a lot of our podcasts already out there, QuickBooks Corner, blogs, information that can help educate you about your small business. Once again, we had in the studio David B Plemons and Rita McDaniel from Plemons CPA. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
For more information about any of our guests, or if you have questions and comments, please email us at admin@plemonscpa.com. And don't forget to check out our website, plemonscpa.com, for upcoming events and workshops in San Antonio.
David B Plemons CPA Inc. is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of David B Plemons CPA Inc. policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by David B Plemons CPA Inc. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the Hustle, Juggle, and Struggle of Small Business podcast does not imply an endorsement of them or their concepts or any entity they represent. Views and opinions expressed by David B Plemons CPA Inc. employees are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the views of David B Plemons CPA Inc. or any of its officials. You should always consult your own investment advisors, attorneys, and accountants before making any decisions concerning your financial matters. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact our office.